The Things We Never Said, narration version. I didn't fall in love with her all at once. It happened in pieces, in moments so small, I didn't even notice them becoming important. I met Emma on a Tuesday afternoon, one that was too ordinary to remember. Except, I remember it. Every second. It was raining. Not dramatically. Just enough to make the streets shine and people walk faster than they needed to. I was standing under the tiny roof of a bus stop, pretending not to be late for work, scrolling through emails I didn't want to answer. She ran up beside me, breathless, hair wet, laughing at herself. I swear the rain waits for me specifically, she said, to no one in particular. I looked up. That was the first mistake, because when our eyes met, something in my chest shifted. Not a spark, not fireworks, just a quiet feeling like, oh, there you are. She sat beside me, still catching her breath. You ever feel like the universe has a weird sense of humor? She asked. All the time, I said. Good. Then this makes sense. She held up a coffee cup, with no lid. Empty. I waited 10 minutes for this, she said, and then dropped it before taking a sip. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because she told the story like it was. That was Emma's thing. She didn't pretend bad moments weren't bad. She just refused to let them win. We ended up on the same bus, then sitting next to each other, then missing our stops, because we were talking about nothing important. Favorite smells, childhood fears, why movie theaters feel sad after the film ends. She told stories with her hands. I listened like they were secrets. When we finally realized how far we'd gone, she looked at me and said, well, this is either the start of a horror movie or a friendship, or both, I said. She grinned. Fair. We started meeting on purpose after that. Coffee accidentally at the same cafe. Walking the long way home. Texting memes at 1 a.m. with no context. She had a laugh that made strangers turn around. Not loud, just real. Emma felt things deeply. Music made her cry. Old buildings made her quiet. Stray cats made her stop everything. I was more contained. She called me the human version of a deep breath. I called her a storm that brings flowers. She said that was the nicest thing anyone had ever called her. I didn't tell her it scared me how true it felt. The first time I knew I was in trouble wasn't romantic. She had the flu, hair messy, voice gone, angry at the world because soup tasted like nothing. I went to drop off medicine. She opened the door in an oversized hoodie, squinting at me like I'd personally offended her. You didn't have to come, she croaked. I know, I said. She stepped aside anyway. Her apartment was chaos. Blankets everywhere, half-finished tea mugs, tissues like surrender flags. I made soup she didn't eat, and tea she forgot to drink. But when she fell asleep on the couch, head on my shoulder, breathing slowly, I realized something terrifying. I didn't want to be anywhere else. Love didn't feel like lightning. It felt like staying. Staying when she talked too much, staying when I didn't know what to say, staying when things were quiet and there was nothing to distract us. Emma didn't rush feelings. She let them grow like plants, slow toward the light. One night, lying on the floor listening to music. She said, "Do you ever think about how scary it is? That someone can become your favorite person?" I swallowed. "Yeah, because then they can hurt you the most," she said softly. I turned my head to look at her. She was staring at the ceiling, like the answer might be written there. "I think," I said carefully, "that's also why it's worth it." She didn't respond, but she slid her hand into mine and didn't let go. We never had a dramatic first kiss. It happened mid-conversation. She was telling me about a dream she had where her teeth fell out during a job interview. I laughed. She tried to look offended. I said, "You're cute when you're mad." She blinked, then kissed me like she'd been meaning to for a while, and just forgot to schedule it. Being with Emma felt like learning a new language. She needed reassurance in words. I showed love in actions. She wanted to talk things through immediately. I needed time to process. We messed up, we misunderstood, we apologized. A lot. But we never stopped choosing each other, even on days when it was hard, even on days when we were tired, even on days when love felt less like a feeling and more like a decision. 2 years in, life got heavier. Real jobs, bills, family expectations. She wanted to apply for an art program abroad. I had just been promoted. 2 years, she said quietly. Maybe less, I nodded. But fear has a way of disguising itself as logic. We started arguing about small things, dishes, timing, tone. But underneath every fight was the same question neither of us asked. Are we strong enough for distance? The night before she left, we didn't talk about the future. We talked about our first bus ride, the spilled coffee, the soup she didn't eat. We laughed, then cried, then laughed again, because crying felt embarrassing. At the airport, she hugged me so tightly, I could feel her heartbeat racing. "This isn't goodbye," she whispered. "I know," I said, but I didn't. Not really. Long distance didn't break us. Silence did. Busy days turned into missed calls into "I'll text later," later into weeks. Not because we stopped loving each other, but because loving someone far away requires energy we didn't always have. One night, after a short, tired conversation, she said, "I feel like I'm slowly losing you." I wanted to say, "I'm still here," but what came out was, "I'm just stressed." And sometimes that's how love slips away, not in betrayals, but in unsaid truths. We didn't have a dramatic breakup, just a quiet one. "I think we're holding on to who we were," she said gently, "not who we are now." I nodded, because fighting it would have meant admitting I had been fading too. We ended the call with "take care," like strangers. Years passed. Different apartments, different people, different versions of ourselves. But some loves don't leave. They settle into you, like a scar that doesn't hurt anymore, but still remembers. One evening, walking home through light rain, I passed a bus stop. Same tiny roof, same city smell, and suddenly I could hear her laugh again, clear as ever. I checked my phone, scrolled to her name, still there. I stared at it for a long time, then typed, "I walked past our bus stop today." 3 dots appeared almost instantly. "I still think about that day," she replied. We met for coffee a week later, older, softer, still us. She smiled the same, but steadier. I don't regret us, she said. Me neither. We didn't try to rewind time. We just sat with what we had been and what we had become. Before leaving, she hugged me, warm, familiar, different. Thank you, she said, for loving me the way you knew how. I nodded. And thank you for teaching me how some love stories don't end with forever. They end with growth, with gratitude, with a quiet understanding that not every love is meant to stay, but some are meant to shape you into the person who can love better next time. And maybe that's just as beautiful.